It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Sproles, ends it. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hello and welcome to a Monday. Hope you guys had a good weekend post Father's Day. Welcome back to the weekday.
The week is back. It's starting again.
That means more sports talk every weekday here, 4 to 5 p.m. for the summer. We'll get back going in the fall when sports start happening again. For now, we're looking mostly at off-season stuff. We had a blockbuster trade in the NBA over the weekend. How does that impact the Jazz? There's rumors around the Jazz for the draft. The draft is this Thursday. The Jazz have 3 picks that they can use, either trade them, take a player, do whatever they want. Although there's rumors all over the place. This is going to be a very busy trade offseason. And we kind of saw the beginning of that with the Suns trading for Bradley Beal, but there's certainly a lot going on in the NBA, as obviously these days in sports. The NBA and NFL are year-round leagues. Games are only played like half the year, but they are year-round leagues at this point.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, they do things to try to, I guess not just necessarily capture people's attention when the games aren't happening, but more or less to sustain the conversation even when games aren't happening. What's going on in pending free agency. We've got the draft that's coming up. We've got trade deadlines, free agency deadlines. Then we've got summer league. Then we've got international play. And so the NBA has really done a good job of trying to continue the conversation about their league, even when they're not, quote unquote, in season. NFL does a really good job of this as well. If the season's over, well, then you've got the combine. And then you've got the draft, which is they've created just a major spectacle in the draft alone. Then you've got OTAs and rookie mini camps, and so the NFL does a really good job as well of keeping the conversation going about their league almost entirely year round. And the fans of those leagues eat it up because there's not a lot of action happening in games. In competition, so people are searching for other things to discuss and to digest what's happening, what could be happening. So really give credit the Mountain West, the NBA and the NFL do a really fine job of keeping things going. Sometimes in the NBA, it's just drama with stars that creates and maintains that conversation, but. Give them credit for how they're doing it. Try to keep it in people's discussion and in the forefront.
Do you think that's something of these leagues, at least the NBA and NFL, who've been kind of the most successful at it? Think they've done it on purpose, or has this kind of evolved out of the media landscape, and the NBA and NFL are obviously benefiting from it? Because, I mean, clearly they want it. I think the NFL maybe helped push in terms of making the draft a spectacle, because they have things like the NFL Network that have been promoting that, where they've made their combine as big of an event as like most other sports' championship series. The NBA obviously hasn't been as successful with their combine. Nobody seems to care. They just look for the measurements that come across. Like, that's all that people care about with the combine is the measurements.
Right.
In the NFL, they'll watch the draft. They'll watch the drills. They'll post highlights of guys throwing passes. You make a quip about Zach Wilson being picked second overall because of one pass, although that pass was in his pro day, but still.
Right. Unguarded.
Yeah. But do you think that that's evolved from the media landscape, or if it's been this direct push by the leagues trying to actively promote this full season thing?
Well, it's a good question. It may be just because that may be at fault of Major League Baseball for not doing its job in seizing an opportunity of those other sports are out. It's our time. Let's take full advantage of it. And they just haven't figured out a way to make it more intriguing. And so, these other sports have things that are going on. And I think part of it is it could be a chicken or the egg. Are they talking about it more because that's what the fans want, or the fans talking about it more because that's what the league is doing? And so it's a little bit of both, to be honest. But there's been the last several years in the NBA, the offseason sometimes can be full of as much or if not more drama than the regular season, with stars who we thought were going to be loyal to their teams, and then they turn their back. They demand a trade. You see a free agent move, a trade that happens close to the draft, futures decided in one night. So, the NBA has done a really fine job in its own right on creating spectacle outside of when games are actually happening.
Now, it feels almost like that's the NBA's strength, is it's not necessarily what's on the court. Because we got to the NBA Finals, and we'd had a pretty good playoffs, some exciting series, Nuggets and Heat, two pretty solid storylines. And we get there, and you got these fans saying, well, this is boring. Even NBA writers admitting, well, these teams aren't compelling. I don't know what to write about them. But they spent the entire season going on and on about the drama. I think a couple years ago we had tons of drama like Ben Simmons and James Harden and a bunch of other stuff where the media seems almost like it thrives more on the drama of players than it does on what those players do on the court.
Yeah.
Like the one place where they really will try and dig into the players, for better or worse, is like the MVP race. Maybe Defensive Player of the Year. But most people don't know how to actually analyze. Of course, I don't know if anybody really knows how to properly analyze the Defensive Player of the Year race, which makes discussing that a crap show.
Yeah.
But with MVP, at least they're digging into that. So, and they'll put a lot of effort into it. But it does just feel like with the NBA, it's just drama, drama, drama.
Well, the NBA is a star-driven league, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past where the NBA benefits just the style of play. You only have 5 players on any given team on the court, so 10 players overall on the court at a time. They're not wearing helmets. You can see their face. You can see their facial expressions. You can see everything about how they interact and talk and perform on the field or on the court. You get that upfront personal look at who these people are. And so that's definitely enhanced the star power of the NBA and these stars specifically. In the NFL, so we talk about the NBA as a star-driven league. And the NFL they have their stars, but it's still mostly just a team-driven league. Like, people are more supportive of their team than they are the stars, because we'll see stars in the NBA move around with a lot more frequency than they normally do in the NFL. But the lifespan of a player in the NBA is also longer than it is in the NFL.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to just get invested in a player or two, because that player they might have like 3 or 4 good years, but the primes of NFL players, minus a quarterback, really do tend to be like 3 or 4 years. Like, unless you're just this Hall of Famer who manages to have like 8 straight seasons. And then the quarterbacks go for like 15 if they're really good. Or Tom Brady, and they go like 20. Or Brett Favre and all that.
Extreme outliers, but yeah.
But as far as quarterbacks, the quarterbacks stay in the same place for their whole careers if they're good enough. So, yeah, there isn't as much chance for people to just be player following between the teams. It really does tend to be more of a brand. So, and maybe that's part of why I just like the NFL a little bit more in some cases, where I can follow my team. And yeah, there's tons of player turnover every year. It's not like player turnover doesn't happen, but you can root for the stars on your team, and you can root for your team every year, and it's not all about the drama, and you don't have to worry about, will the NFL actually talk about my team if they're good? They'll talk about anybody if they're good.
Yeah, it's been proven that anybody in any market can make it to the NFL, to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that any team has a chance. There's a hard cap. There's more of a competitive balance. You can always feel like within a year or two, with how well your team does in the draft or how well coaching is, and some moves that could be made within a few years, you could be in the conversation as being a competitive team.
Yeah, just sometimes just takes that one quarterback and a good group of defenders and offensive players, which you can just get from like 2 or 3 drafts. So we've seen teams go from 1-15 to making the playoffs.
So part of this discussion is kind of leaning into the drama of the NBA in the offseason and things that happened today. I guess it really technically happened over the weekend.
Yeah,
but
kind of over the weekend leading into today.
It was percolating that Bradley Beal looking to move. He had a no-trade clause, but somehow he worked it out. And
he can waive his no-trade clause.
Right, it's up to him if he wants to do that. And so he wanted out of Washington. He's been there a long time, been loyal, but figured, this franchise isn't going anywhere, so I'd like to give myself a shot. And so they had to work out a trade, and they work it out with Phoenix. And Chris Paul and Landry Shamet are heading to Washington, and Bradley Beal is heading to Phoenix.
And it's the kind of trade that you end up fleecing a team because Bradley Beal can just say, he can literally just dictate terms, just like have this be the trade or we're not doing this. Obviously, you end up negotiating back and forth, but he's able to basically dictate the parameters of the trade himself. And I guess Phoenix obviously having some say they don't want to give up too much, but it's in Bradley Beal's best interest to tell Washington, don't ask for too much because then, I want to go to a good team. They're a team that actually has something left, which that seems to be the talk about Phoenix is, that now they have Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and they do also have DeAndre Ayton. But, the main 3 of Durant, Beal, and Booker, and it's like, well, who else you got? I don't know if I can...
They've traded a lot of their assets away.
I don't know if I can name another member of the Phoenix Suns other than those 4 players. And not too long ago, I could name plenty of them. I probably could have named like 7 or 8. But now that they've traded a bunch of them away, they traded away Cam Johnson, a bunch of other guys, and it's like, I don't know who's on the Suns anymore other than those main guys, which... we just watched 2 NBA franchises get into the finals, and Miami had the 1 star, Denver had 2. Phoenix is banking their entire team on having 3 great players. And Denver and Miami had this cast of this whole host of A-level role players. And that's the thing that helped get them to the finals.
Right. These NBA finals really challenged the notion that you needed 3 big stars to get you to the finals. Because the 2 teams that got there, they didn't have 3 big stars. You had one former MVP and another guy who's been to an all-star game maybe once. And then you had on the other side, Miami had a few guys that have been to all-star games, but they're not big stars. And so they really challenged that notion that you need 3 big stars to make it to the NBA Finals. And now we've got the Phoenix Suns who are going to have 3 guys who have been all-stars, a 4th who's been pretty good at times. But the thing that I guess is most curious to me is you got Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, who basically play the same way, in the same position, in the same style. And Kevin Durant, he plays the same way too. He's just a taller version of these guys. So you got 3 guys that are going to try to do the same thing, more known for their offense than their defense. How do you share the ball with these guys? They don't complement each other. I don't see how this works.
I think the argument, and you're banking a lot on this being true, this assertion that we'll talk about, is that Devin Booker is, from what I've seen, at least from an outside perspective, the way people talk about him and the way his stats have increased, I haven't exactly done a deep dive of this myself, is that he is very much progressing in his passing ability. And I should probably look up his assist numbers have been going up pretty consistently. And so they're basically seeming to bank on the idea that Devin Booker is going to play point guard. And
Bradley Beal, I've got his stats up right now. Last year, he averaged 23 points, about 4 rebounds, 5.5 assists a game.
And in Devin Booker, 5.5 assists as well. But the question is are those kind of the star level, just passing away because I'm being the defense is committed to me, so I pass out, or are those real playmaking assists, the kind that you're going to need to have to be able to break down teams, when they're playing more complicated defense or giving you varied looks, the kind that point guards tend to be able to make. They can read a defense, make the right pass, direct traffic. Is that what Devin Booker is doing? If it is, and I'm not going to make an assertion as to whether or not, like I said, I haven't done a deep dive. I've just seen people talk about him as saying he's an improving playmaker. But are you going to bank so much of your offensive effectiveness on having Devin Booker effectively be your point guard? Or are you going to try and have Bradley Beal and Devin Booker both be passers if they're both guys who can average 4 or 5 assists a game? Can you run both of them? Because you said these guys are highly redundant, and while it's the whole notion of having too many scorers, I feel like that can be overblown a little bit. Because good scorers can work together and share the ball.
Yes.
They're smart enough to do that, and as long as they don't have these stupidly huge egos, they can make it work. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade made it work. Chris Paul, James Harden made it work. James Harden's gone several places where he's had to share the ball with other dominant scorers, and he's played just fine with them. He played just fine with Joel Embiid.
Yeah, but he hasn't gotten to an NBA Finals in one.
Yeah, but that's a whole different story. I'm just saying that as far as making it work on the court, I think they can make this work on the court, and there's not going to be this huge problem unless somebody gets their ego bruised. Even Kevin Durant, who talked about being, soft in terms of taking criticism, he's played well with others. He's generally played well with others and shared the ball and done just fine. So I think in terms of, not being enough to go around, I don't think that's going to be an issue. I do think the issue may end up being just the redundancy of the players isn't so much the problem in not being able to make them work. It's the redundancy and just not having anything else. You have 3 dominant scorers. Okay, you can make that work on the court. Might be a little overkill, maybe stagger them so you separate them a little bit. But you need things other than scoring to win the NBA Finals.
Right, and I think that's one of the things that 2947 texting in on our Full Court Press text line is highlighting here. It says the finals were important this year. They showed good fundamental basketball again and not super teams. The Nuggets have a great cohesive team full of selfless players and a good coach, and they gained experience and chemistry over the years. Nuggets have been finals material for several years. They just couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, and they're a two-way team. For all the guff that Nikola Jokic gets for supposedly not being a good defender, he's been on a team that's been good defensively. And the Miami Heat were good defensively. They're good offensively. They both had good chemistry, good depth, players who could do a variety of things. Miami was versatile, 1 through 5. Denver wasn't quite as versatile. I mean, they were on offense with the way Nikola Jokic plays, but defensively he wasn't, the same as Bam Adebayo. But still, they were versatile, guys playing multiple roles. You do have the 2-man game in terms of your star players. But you got Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope all bringing different things offensively and defensively. Miami Heat the same. And previous championship teams have also had that. The Bucks were doing that. The Golden State Warriors, when they resurged, they were able to do that. The Suns don't seem like they're going to be able to do that. They're just going to bank on, we have 3 of the best scorers in the entire league. Fear us.
Yeah. And Kevin Durant, yes, he's taller. He's going to be guarding different players, and different players are going to be guarding him.
Of the 3 stars, Kevin Durant's the one good defender among them.
Well, yes, that's true. And he is a little bit different, and we can't necessarily compare all 3 equally because he's 6'10", almost 7 feet tall. But Booker is 6'5". Bradley Beal is 6'4". Beal is 29. Booker's 26. Beal averaged 23 points, 4 rebounds, 5.5 assists last year. Booker averaged 27 points, 4.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists. So they are very, very, very similar. Just Beal's maybe a few years older. Other than that, they play the same position, very similar style, and they'll have ability to score points. Can they stop opponents? sharing the ball between those three stars could be kind of interesting. But we've seen in years past, if you have complementary players, your chances are going to go deeper rather than players that do the same thing and are really in the same mold. And that's what Beal and Booker are.
Yeah. But I think ultimately the biggest downfall potentially of this team, if it ends up not working, is just how do you put together a lineup when only one of those three star players is on the court? Like, how do you put together a successful, offensively, Kevin Durant can carry a lineup on his own, put some shooters around him. There's guys that are talented enough hanging around the NBA that you can find for that, minimum level contract, which like the rest of their team is going to be made up of, is minimum level guys. Okay, Kevin Durant could probably carry a team. Can he carry them defensively? Can Devin Booker carry a unit defensively? Like, you're banking on this idea that this team is going to be carried offensively by these three players. And they can. They can carry a team offensively. Even when they're by themselves or if there's only two of them, they can carry most or any lineups by themselves offensively. But we've seen so many teams face their downfall because they don't have any defensive lineups. And what guys can you find out there who are going to be able to give you a defensive lineup when it's only Bradley Beal out of your stars that are on the court, when it's only Devin Booker, when it's only Kevin Durant? And even Kevin Durant, he's good, but he's one player.
So you know how many guys are left on this team who have contracts going into next year?
6.
So you have Kevin Durant. He's under contract through 2026. Booker's under contract through 2027. Ayton through 26. So there's 3. You traded away Chris Paul. You traded away Landry Shamet. Then you have Cam Payne. He's under contract next season.
They have a backup point guard.
And Darius Baisley, who has a qualifying offer for next year.
That's ridiculous.
And then a couple other scrubs who no one would know.
Yeah, I saw one.
Phoenix is going to have to remake their whole rotation, their bench. They've got a lot of work to do this offseason.
Yeah, and do they have a draft pick? Do they actually have a draft pick, or do they trade it away in the... Let me see if they have a draft pick. Cause it's just,
good question.
Because that's a big part of being able to build the rest is, especially for contending teams, is have that... They do not have a first-round pick. They're giving it to Brooklyn, which I imagine is that Kevin Durant trade. Don't know.
Yeah, they have a number 52.
That's that. And players drafted at 52nd do not last.
No.
Very rarely.
No.
I've done the math on how many. So
late in the second round is their only draft pick.
But maybe that guy ends up being half decent because he's going to have to be. He's going to have to do something.
Well, they're going to have to find a bunch of mid-level exception guys, veteran exceptions.
Yeah. Maybe they can find these guys. There's going to be a ton of talk about the Suns and the buyout market this upcoming season, which guys get bought out and they're going to want to go play for the Suns.
Right, and they might be able to attract some veterans who want to go play in that situation where those guys can take the heat for being the star, and there are roles to be played, and guys can have a nice little season where all I'm going to do is feed off of the attention that those other guys get. They're going to have to pass out eventually, and I'm going to have to be there to be somebody who can hit a shot and make a play.
Yeah, but they're going to need to find the guys who can come in and play the roles that Phoenix doesn't have. Be that tough power forward who gets rebounds and plays physical, versatile defense. Those scrappy backup point guards. But I mean, Cam Payne is already kind of their backup point guard. He's capable enough. But, backup wings who will provide shooting and defense. Centers who can be good rim runners and rim protectors off the bench. If they end up trading DeAndre Ayton, I've heard people talk about trading him for spare parts to try and get some semblance of depth. But they need to get a bunch of those guys. They can't be getting when Blake Griffin was bought out and he goes somewhere. It's like, that's not the type of buyout guy that works. That's just a washed-up star. Phoenix can't be attracting washed-up stars because they're not going to be filling the kind of roles that Phoenix needs. They need the Aaron Gordons and the Kentavious Caldwell-Popes, and they don't have any of them.
No, and it's funny, and just to wrap this up, but interesting story about Chris Paul finding about how he was traded. he was on a plane and it was actually his son who texted him, "Hey, Dad, it looks like you're getting traded." He's like, "What?" That's sometimes how it works in the NBA. But when asked about the trade, Chris Paul said he was surprised, and he seems to throw Isaiah Thomas under the bus a bit, because we've seen a couple of references to Isaiah Thomas definitely having the ear of the new owner. What's his name? Ishbia. Matt Ishbia, because it was somewhat suspicious why the Phoenix Suns let go of Monty Williams, and Isaiah Thomas was linked to that. And now this trade with Chris Paul seems like Isaiah Thomas is again been pushing for this. So Isaiah Thomas does not necessarily have the best track record. I don't know why anybody would be taking his advice seriously on how to run an organization. But apparently Matt Ishbia is listening to Isaiah Thomas.
And it's the kind of bad advice that sounds good on its face. Of course, I can't call it bad advice right now because maybe he is right in the end, but it's the bad advice of, it's all your coach's fault. It's the coach's fault you didn't make the finals with this roster. And, look, you can go get this star player. You can have Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. You show them graphics of, here's your starting five. It's Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton and somebody else.
Somebody else will fill in the blanks.
And it's like, and you look at that, and it's the kind of stuff that you see plastered on social media, like, who's beating this lineup? And this lineup scores against everyone. And it's fluff, but it's easy to fall for if you're gullible.
Right.
So, anyway, that's the drama of the NBA. We're here in June, post-finals.
And honestly, it's only going to heat up over the next week because the draft on Thursday, players opting out of their contracts, becoming free agents, teams deciding if they want to chase them or not. Draymond Green, opted out of his $27 million player option, and he's an unrestricted free agent.
There's rumors that Zion is going to be leaving. I know somebody sticking his neck out saying Zion's not going to be on the Pelicans come Thursday. There's a lot of juicy stuff, so it's going to get more and more exciting.
It'll be a very interesting week in the NBA.
Yeah, we've got to take a break, though. We will continue on the other side with a bit more NBA. We'll be focusing more on the Jazz, rumors they might trade up, other possibilities they can do with the 16th and 28th pick. We went over a lot of their options with the 9th pick last week. We'll go over a little bit of their options along with some of these rumors. Coming up next, then later in the show, we'll have Pick 6 results, and also we'll see if we have time. We went pretty long on this first segment, but maybe potential expansion areas for the Mountain West. San Diego State leaving the Mountain West, at least presumably, with the news that came out last week. But we'll look at ways the Mountain West could expand. But again, coming up next, we'll talk about the Utah Jazz here on the Full Court Press.
Forget the weather this summer with York Home Comfort Systems. Now's your chance to get local rebates, financing options, and industry-leading manufactured-backed warranties on your new home comfort system. Plus, you can get up to $2,000 in tax credits with IRA 25C federal tax credit. Installing a York Home Comfort System is even more affordable. Maximize your savings and forget the weather this summer. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning Showroom is west of DI. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
No matter what the conditions, DD Auto and Salvage can get your vehicle up and off your property. Now is the time to plan to make extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage and moving that old vehicle. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat is locally owned and operated inside the beautiful new Three Peaks Medical Plaza in North Logan. Expect the most cutting-edge techniques, qualified doctors, and friendly staff to ensure the highest quality patient care. The ENT providers have extensive training to properly treat ear, nose, and throat conditions for adults and children. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat serves all of northern Utah and southern Idaho, accepting most insurance products including SelectMed. Go to CacheValleyENT.com for appointments and details. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, located in North Logan and Providence.
Daryl's is getting into the Independence Day spirit early. This is Jay with Daryl's Appliance. This Saturday only, it's a patriotic event like no other. Get a free designer GE Cast Cafe air fryer, nugget, ice machine, or toaster with the purchase of 4 appliances. Double dip and save more with Daryl's exclusive mail-in rebates of up to $600 on select appliance packages. Saturday only, get 18 months interest-free financing. Listen for a live broadcast from 10 to 1 while supplies last. Daryl's West on Airport Road, open until 5 p.m.
Elements has delicious lunch specials. Soup, salad, and bread for just $10 is tasty and quick. Elements lunch menu is full of scrumptious items. Wood-fired pizzas are an excellent choice that include barbecued chicken and the bee's knees. The fresh battered halibut fish and chips with seasoned fries is always a hit. And don't forget the fan favorite, Chipotle fried chicken sandwich. Thursdays, enjoy Elements house-made smoked brisket. Casual or professional. Open Monday through Thursday, 11:30 to 8 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11:30 to 9. Visit theelementsrestaurant.com for reservations.
Hi, this is Jay Broadbent. If you use a CPAP, need a walker or a wheelchair, or just need some assistance around your home, then this announcement's for you. Alpine Home Medical is opening a new store in Tooele. We're planning on opening our doors this summer. Check us out on social media at AlpineHME or alpinehomemedical.com to stay up to date.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
That's alpinehomemedical.com.
The Aggies are #1 here. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back, Full Court Press. If you want to join the show, text in 435-339-0321. Talked a lot about the drama of the NBA, the Bradley Beal trade over the weekend, and heck, there's a bunch of other stuff going on now. Rumors of Zion Williamson maybe being traded for the 2nd overall pick. Draymond Green declining his player option, maybe to position himself for re-signing a longer deal with the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, Dunleavy Jr. says it's a high priority to keep Draymond Green on the Warriors squad.
Yeah, and Jordan Clarkson likely to decline his player option, but from what I've heard, he's certainly open to re-signing with the Jazz. So declining these player options isn't always a precursor to leaving. Sometimes it's a precursor to signing a multi-year deal. But shifting our focus pretty much entirely toward the Jazz and the upcoming NBA draft. Last week we had a chance to really dig into some of the different potential players the Jazz could take at number 9. Didn't end up having as much time to talk about the other 2 picks the Jazz have in the first round at number 16 and number 28, courtesy of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I believe the 76ers is where that pick eventually came from. So that's they could end up trading those. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. I should say, kind of to begin this, there are rumors that the Jazz are looking at trading up for Cam Whitmore. He seems to be a player that they seem to like quite a bit. Former small forward out of Villanova. Hyper athletic, big-bodied, decent shot, at least as far as catch and shoot three-pointers, he's pretty good. Not as good off the bounce with his threes, but certainly a capable prospect. He's expected to go somewhere between like 4 and 7. So the Jazz are kind of just outside that range. It's a possibility he falls, but the Jazz may not want to take that chance.
Yeah, what's interesting is that there's a good number of players that they could select. And I think that speaks to the versatility and the depth of this year's draft. Because understanding what the pecking order looks like, it is clearly not as easy as a lot of people like to try to project. Because you look at every mock draft out there, and almost every one of them has Utah selecting somebody different.
Yeah, it's crazy. Some have them Anthony Black, some Taylor Hendricks, some Grady Dick. Some I've seen Jalen Hood-Schifino or
I'm
Kobe
just looking
Buffkin.
at one right now, Bilal Koulibaly.
Yeah.
Who's from France. This one I haven't seen yet before.
He's been a late riser. He was a teammate of Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, apparently rising up a lot of draft boards as more people have been scouting him. One of the benefits of having a transcendent star on your team is that the other players around him, they'll get some attention because everybody's watching for this guy and, that guy next to him, he's pretty good. And that guy distributing the ball, he's actually pretty good.
Yeah, so this Bilal Koulibaly, I don't know how to say his name, and I don't know how to pronounce French anyway. but he's 6'8", athletic, seems to have some shooting and maybe some playmaking in his future. A bit raw, decent ball handler, and yeah, he's one of those guys that people have started paying attention to and has become a real late riser in this process, jumping from back end of the first round to, there are people who think the Jazz will take him at 9, maybe even higher at like 8. I think there are some people saying maybe 7 or 8.
Rise
so
as high as that.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's pretty crazy how high some of these guys can ride, but some of that is writers and bloggers just getting super excited about this player and jumping on rumors that such and such player worked out. But hey, you never know. Sometimes these teams actually fall in love with players. We've seen guys taken super high in the first round that everyone's like, wait, that guy?
Yeah, well, we talked about this with the NFL draft too. There's kind of a culture of, I want to talk about the guy that no one's talking about because when he gets selected, I'm the one who discovered the diamond in the rough. When instead it's like, well, let's just talk about the guys that are actually good and are likely to be picked.
Yeah, that's something with the NFL. The NFL, there's guys because there's guys basically everywhere in the NFL draft that end up being good. Like 4th-round picks who end up starting their rookie year.
Yes.
Yeah, in the NBA, it's a lot more.
Or guys out of the FCS.
Yeah.
Who, by and large, America doesn't know much about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, there's definitely people who want to go overboard on saying this is the, such and such. Hot take artistry. But narrowing down, looking at the Jazz picks at number 16 and 28, it gets really hard to pick. We talk about how there's so many different players selected at number 9. I don't know if I've seen 2 mock drafts have the same at either 28 or 16. So really, it's just kind of throwing names out there. There's guys I mentioned Jalen Hood-Schifino, who I saw mocked to the Jazz at 9, who's probably going to go a little more in the teams. We had a texter who noted a guy who could be around for the Jazz at 16, Kobe Buffkin out of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard Miller is kind of one of my... I saw him and he suddenly became a big favorite. Of course, Jalen Hood-Schifino is kind of the same way. Kind of fell in love with those players. I think I mentioned Leonard Miller the other day where he's this long forward, kind of Taylor Hendricks light in the way that he's this long defensive forward prospect. Doesn't have the shooting that Hendricks does and probably not the on-ball scoring potential that Hendricks has. But defender, rebounder, could maybe become a three-point shooter. See, you like him at 16 there, but there's plenty of other guys at 16.
Yeah, the number of other
it's just
names,
hard.
and one name we talked about is some people are trying to project that the Jazz might take at 9, but it's more likely if he's available they could take him at 16. That's Grady Dick. He was earlier in the season projected pretty high on a lot of boards. He seems to be slipping, but he may be available in that 16 range. Outside shooter, kind of like a Reggie Miller, basically is what you'd be getting. With that pick, small forward out of Kansas. Keontae George, guard out of Baylor, who's basically a Royce O'Neal clone. Someone like that the Utah Jazz could be selecting. So it speaks to the variety of players that are available, especially in those wing players. There's more of them in this draft. So with 9, they may draft big, and with 16 and 28, they may draft more length on the wings.
Yeah. And there really is a variety of any type of player. There's playmaking guards, Hood-Schifino, Kobe Buffkin. If Cason Wallace manages to fall that far, there are wings and bigs. I mean, there's even a center in that range if the Jazz feel so inclined. And longer wings, shooting wings, defensive wings, anything you want. So there's a lot of variety they can go with and probably a lot of different potential plans. Like if things don't go your way at number 9, then you can switch up the game plan a little bit and pick maybe a different archetype and then shift what archetype you may be looking at 16. Or just pick both because sometimes you just got to go best player available.
Yes. There is a report, there was a Q&A, I guess a mailbag on the Utah Jazz website. This was in late May, a couple weeks ago, and it kind of alluded to the fact that Utah was really going to be focusing on, or at least more interested in, players with length, versatility, and guys who can play defense, guys who are not afraid to play defense. And that really fits with the new mold of the Utah Jazz. And Will Hardy, versatile players. You can use them in different lineups. But you have length so you can defend and cause problems on the other side with teams trying to defend you with multiple players on the floor who can stretch it or attack the rim.
Yeah, and I think probably the one issue they may have in the draft is they want to find guys who are versatile on defense, play defense, and also maybe be able to shoot the ball, hopefully. This is probably one of the worst drafts I've seen in a while in terms of prospects' ability to shoot the three, which is weird given the emphasis we put on shooting. And you think young coaches and young kids would have developed their shooting a little better, but you look at the top 10, like, how many can actually shoot the three? Brandon Miller can shoot the three. Victor Wembanyama can kind of shoot the three. You with the rest of the Thompson twins are both really iffy shooters. Jarace Walker's an iffy shooter. Cam Whitmore said he could catch and shoot, but kind of iffy off the dribble. Anthony Black, super iffy off the dribble. Taylor Hendricks is a good shooter. Like, the first elite shooters in this draft are Taylor Hendricks and Grady Dick, and they're on the back end of the top 10.
Right.
So it is kind of iffy that you're going to find some very versatile defenders, some guys with playmaking chops, but you pretty much can't find a combination of those things and shooting, and it could make some difficult decisions for the Jazz.
Well, yeah, it's true, and it may be that they just take a flyer on somebody. Like, we like your athleticism, we like your ability to defend. We will teach you how to shoot a three. We will develop you into a shooter, because that's something that we can teach. Some of those other things are harder to teach. It's harder to get some guys motivated to really dig in and willing to play good hard-nosed defense. But being able to shoot, that can be developed and improved over time in the NBA.
Yeah, and so yes, that's going to be certainly a challenge. Well, I think there was another article released today in the Tribune where they were going over all the draft busts, and one of the things they have in common, and lack of three-point shooting was like the most common one. So it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah. If you don't take it seriously, if you just want to rely solely on your athleticism and don't put the work in to add more, quivers or more arrows in your quiver, then you're going to be isolated and not be able to expand your role and minutes on the court.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, one other player that kind of talks about this fits this mold. This is maybe somebody who's available later in the draft. Andre Jackson, off of UConn, described as a kind of a Swiss Army knife, how he was used for UConn in their championship run. But a lot of these guys that we're seeing, kind of in that 6'6" to 6'8" role, versatile. Now, there are some bigger players that are on some of these boards, like Jaime Vasquez. Jaquez, if that's how you pronounce his last name, more of a forward out of UCLA, was known to be more mid-range to three-point shooting. But some of these other guys that we're seeing just like the length and versatility, kind of a raw prospect out of New Zealand with the Breakers. So there's really going to be a fun draft just to see what happens and where they go, who they select.
All right, one name that I thought was interesting at 28, mostly interesting because it's a name I'd run across before, Brandon Podziemski, Santa Clara guard, played here in Logan, and actually had a pretty bad game by his standards. So I remember hyping him up in my preview article, like, this guy's a really good scorer, and he's like, oh yeah, I kind of laid an egg here. But then he went on to have a really good year, and there's a lot of people actually getting really hyped on him as a late-round prospect. And one I saw had him... in one mock draft, had him go into the Jazz. So maybe the Jazz go after a scorer, kind of that, typical mid-major, great scorer, iffy on the athleticism.
One other option that we haven't talked about a lot, and this just quick, there is an option that Utah trades down. That if they feel like they can still get a player that they like, but they don't have to utilize the number 9 pick to get, even if it's a type of player or a variety of players that there's an option, they could trade down. I did see one mock draft that had them trading down. Would save them a little bit of money, but feel like with 2 other picks in the first round, they don't necessarily need to hang tight to that number 9 pick.
Yeah, or maybe even the other picks. There's a possibility they trade with 16 and 28. right after the 9 pick, or maybe they trade down from the 20th, because look at the guys they worked out. Like, Amani Bates is actually an interesting name they worked out, who's early second round, maybe late first round. Maybe they go after him. Maybe they trade down to get more assets and get the guy they want. So
right.
Kind
possibility.
Kind of interesting possibility. We need to take another break. We'll come back. Don't know if we have enough time to go into the Mountain West expansion topic we were wanting to get
We'll
on.
punt that into tomorrow because that's worth a good, healthy discussion.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion. So we may just end up going into pick 6 results, and then we'll go from there here on the Full Court Press.
For more than a century, couples have shopped at S.C. Needham Jewelers. Known for a large selection of beautiful diamonds, we now have both natural and lab-grown diamonds. You're sure to find a diamond engagement ring that will fit your budget. The possibilities today are endless as you select the perfect ring. Show her you'll cherish her forever with a diamond, either natural or lab-grown, from the store where Utah gets engaged. S.C. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
Advanced Fireplace and Stove wants to thank you for voting them 2 years running the gold medal winners in the Best of Northern Utah contest. With over 35 display models in their showroom, their goal is to make the process of making your home comfortable and cozy an easy experience. With premier brands like Napoleon and Dimplex, they have something for every style, every home, every budget. Building or renovating, they've got you covered. Advanced Fireplace and Stove, where comfort is their business.
Vacations are just around the corner, as is the hot weather. This is Dustin with Valvoline and Snow Oil Change in Logan. Get your vehicle's oil change before you head out on that epic vacation. While you're here, we can recharge your AC so you're not melting in a hot car. Stay in your car while our trained pros service your vehicle. Valvoline Instant Oil Change, $6.95, North Main and Logan, across from Angie's. Also, we're so busy we need some more help. Stop in and apply to work with us today. We offer bonuses and benefits after 90 days.
Did you know that the ideal time to have your wisdom teeth evaluated is between ages 14 to 16? While some people have room to keep them, most do not, and they can grow in at unnatural angles. This can lead to problems like headaches, jaw pain, gum disease, and infection. This is Dr. Devin Burns at Cache Valley Wisdom Teeth. Is it time to have your wisdom teeth removed? Call our office and mention this ad to receive a free panoramic x-ray and consultation. Our compassionate team at Cache Valley Wisdom Teeth will make your wisdom teeth removal comfortable and easy. Visit CacheValleyWisdomTeeth.com.
Experience Sunday brunch at Prodigy Brewing on Center Street. Churro French toast, beignets and berries, and everyone's favorite chilaquiles. A delicious combination of eggs, house-made enchilada sauce, tortilla chips, avocado, and pico. Brunch has an all-new meaning of tasty when you visit Prodigy Brewing. Served Sundays 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Prodigy's atmosphere is vibrant, energetic, and friendly. Whether it's with family or friends, Sunday brunch at Prodigy Brewing is a delicious experience. Prodigy Brewing, exceptional food, extraordinary service, and family-friendly on Center Street in downtown Logan.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. Life is good. Life at My Mattress is good too. Why might I say that? Because today is a good day to slay a Goliath. The other day I went into a mattress store here in Logan that has 2,500 stores across the country. I'd say that's a Goliath. We were 20% less expensive on every bed that we both offer. We may not have 2,500 stores, but we are number one in Cache Valley. Better product and better prices. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
Copiers, printers, service, and supplies are just the beginning. Les Olson IT is the premier source for your business's structured cabling, IT, software, telephones, and security systems. We partner with you to find the ideal solution to all of your office technology needs. Tell us your goals and we'll get you there. Find out more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
Hello, I'm Zane Johnson, personal banker and operations manager at Cache Valley Bank. With nearly a decade of banking experience, I enjoy meeting new people and helping them with their banking needs. I have a reliable team who demonstrate the personalized attention and exceptional service you deserve. Come visit the Smithfield branch and ask for Zane, or give me a call to see what opening an account with Cache Valley Bank can do for you. I look forward to meeting you. Hablo Español, Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Interviews, analysis, and a little bit of fun mixed in. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
So with all this rain, you probably need some wiper blades, and I tell you what, Eric, I need new wiper blades. And so the recommended thing should be to go over to Napa Auto Parts. Napa will make sure you get the right size for a vehicle if you're like me and don't know what size to get and all that stuff. I'm sure they can help you out just like me. And just like me, who spent 20 minutes in a parking lot trying to install wiper blades on my brother's car, they can help you install it. And you can avoid that kind of trouble. So Napa Auto Parts, yeah, with all this rain, you really do need wiper blades. But we got to get into Pick 6 results. We kind of had to rush through it, and technically didn't get all of it said on air. But we did, we agreed, and I wrote down all of our picks and all of the lines that we had. Although you may question whether or not I wrote them down, depending on the results here. So just to go through the Pick 6 results here. So going through the lines that you set. First one, Saturday, Yankees-Red Sox. They actually played this game on Sunday. It was delayed because of rain, but the one that was listed as the makeup game for that is the one I went with here.
It's fair. Combined hits by
Rafael Devers. How do you say his name again?
Devers.
Devers. Oh, that's what it was. There's not a Y on there. That's a slash, not a Y. Devers and Aaron Judge. Combined hits over under 2.5. Well, Aaron Judge didn't even play. And Devers only had one hit.
Oh.
You took the over, I took the under, so I got that one.
Darn you, Aaron Judge.
U.S. Open winner, you said either Xander Schauffele?
Yeah, Xander Schauffele with the field. Xander Schauffele and Ricky Fowler had a great opening round. I should have still gone with Ricky Fowler. He ended up making it more interesting through the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, didn't matter.
Yeah, you had Schauffele or the field. That was your pick. I picked the field. You picked Schauffele. The winner ended up being Wyndham Clark, who won his first ever major.
Yeah, wouldn't have seen that coming.
Yeah.
Especially the way those two started out of the gates.
Yeah, I think Fowler and Schauffele had -8s, I think, after the first two rounds. Then you had Sunday, Orioles at Cubs. You said Orioles by 2.5. I picked the Orioles to cover that spread. You picked the Cubs to beat that. Orioles won by 3, 6-3.
Curse you, Orioles.
I'm up 3-0 here.
I don't like where this is going.
No. Next, we're going to the lines that I set. Shots by RSL against DC United in the game they had over the weekend. I set the line at 14.5. You took the under. I took the over. RSL had 18 shots in their 2-1 victory over DC United.
Well, I had to show that replay of the midfield goal. I had to show it to anybody I could find.
That was an amazing
That
goal.
was wild.
That was crazy.
On the other side of the field when he lets it rip.
Yeah.
And then it goes in the top shelf corner.
Yeah, this wasn't one where the goalkeeper just made a huge blunder, and he kind of does make a blunder, but any other spot in the goal, that keeper probably maybe somewhat embarrassingly barely taps it over the bar, but he would have
probably gets enough on it to deflect it enough.
Yeah, over or at least off the crossbar, and instead put a postage stamp on that.
Unreal.
Crazy stuff. So yeah, I got that one, so I'm up 4-0 now.
Oh, no.
And these were all set on air, so you can go double check these ones. The fifth one, LA Dodgers wins against the Giants. They had a 3-game series.
They got swept.
Yeah, so I set the line of the Dodgers winning 2.5 of those 3 games. I picked the over. I thought, whatever, I'll just go with the Dodgers sweeping. You took the under, and yeah, Giants swept the Dodgers 3-0.
First time in 11 years.
Yeah, so you took the under there, so you got that one.
Wow.
And I missed it. So 4-1. And then the sixth one, this one was kind of muddled, but we made sure to record, and I have it written down what we took. But pass yards, the combined passing yards in the game between the Pittsburgh Maulers and New Jersey Generals over the weekend. and I stumbled over when I said the line, but it was 330.5 yards combined between the two teams. They actually combined to pass for 266 yards.
Oh, my word.
You took the over. I took the under. So 5-1. The tiebreaker was, for kicks and giggles, would the winner of the U.S. Open have a better or worse score than minus 5.5? So basically over under 5 under par. I said they would finish better. You said they would finish worse. Wyndham Clark, of course, the winner, he finished with a minus 10, so he did better.
Yeah,
so,
crushed it.
So I won that there. So
not one of my finest weeks.
No. Yeah, I think you beat me like 5-1 a few weeks back. Probably right before I think I started this now 4-week stretch. So doing pretty good there on that pick 6.
And I'm going to be out of town this week, so
I'm going to ride that 4-week.
Yeah, you just keep rolling.
Keep on rolling. We'll see how it goes. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. Yeah, we'll definitely try and get into that Mountain West expansion topic. I had a little fun. There were maybe a few more options. None of them are great options.
No.
But there can be some fun options.
Right, and you can text in on our text line, and we'll read them tomorrow. So 435-339-0321. Who should the Mountain West be targeting in expansion? We'll discuss it tomorrow here on the show.
All right, have a good night, everyone.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Golf is a challenging game. We all know that. Even the most elite players in the world win about 15% of the time, and even that is considered to be a generous number. If anyone knows the struggle, it's world number 3 Rory McIlroy. He finished second to Wyndham Clark yesterday at the U.S. Open, and that makes 33 consecutive majors that Rory has been unable to secure a championship. But you have to give credit to Clark. He played with poise, hit multiple big shots down the stretch, but as fans of golf, you can't help but connect this to McIlroy. After news of the LIV PGA Tour merger, this would have been a perfect time for him to end his 9-year major drought. But McIlroy struggled to capitalize on birdie opportunities throughout the week. Despite the frustration, it's evident the golfer who won 4 majors before the age of 25 is still there. And after an impressive couple of years, it only seems like a matter of time until McIlroy is able to win another major. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.